Hello, everyone. I thought it would be wise to kind of go over some of the rules for APA. Some of you might have been out of English for a while, and this paper has to be in APA format, so I wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page. This I will do via a PowerPoint. However, if you have particular questions, you can always go to the writing centers at your particular campuses, or you can also make an appointment with me and we can use Zoom. So you don't have to come to Georgetown, but we can meet virtually online if you need some, further pointers. This will give you an overview of APA. Of course, it's not going to show every little rule for in-text citations or what you would have to do in your reference page, but it should give you a pretty broad view and idea of how to do it. So when you go to the Delaware Tech page, you want to log on and go to resources, and then at the bottom where you see library databases, you'll see something that says APA documentation style PDF. This is a PDF document that you can download, and it really is a condensed version of the APA style manual. And it was put together by our librarians. And so this is what all of the courses are using as their standard for APA. So most of you probably know that, but APA stands for the American Psychological Association, and it's the Delaware Tech has adopted that because we are a technical school, and social sciences and the sciences use APA as their main form of documentation. And there are other ones such as MLA, which many of you may have had in high school. MLA really deals with literature. And then there's also Chicago, etc. So why exactly do we use APA? Well, APA provides clarity and accessibility to the writer's work. It also gives credibility to the writer, and if the writer cites while he or she writes, then it helps protect and prevent the writer from possibly plagiarizing another's work. Citing your sources gives credit to the author, and it's the same author that you will use. So for formatting your paper in general, don't forget to create a title page with a running head. And here are some of the rules. So, writing style for behavior and social sciences, as I said, using citations, crediting sources, formatting your paper in APA, and what we call a reference list at the back. So your first page is the title page, and it has something at the top called a running head, and then a short title of your paper, and it's all in capital letters. Make sure you include page numbers, and you could actually include the page number of page 1, so it will be on your title page. And there are some general formats for APA, but I'm going to show you the one that we're going to use for this course. It's just slightly different. Everything is typed double-spaced, and of course the font is Times New Roman 12 font. And that's important. So everything is double-spaced, and all of the font, even in the headers, are 12-point Times New Roman 12. Your margins are 1 inch on all sides, and that's already set up for you. I will show you some tricks on how to format the paper and the page, and that will be in a separate video using Word. At the back, you have to have a list of your references, and that's called the references page, and it's just called references at the top. You don't use the word page. Here's an example of the title page. So you can see running head here. The H is small. Then we have the title, which is all in capital letters. It's a shorter version. If you see the longer version down here, you can't have a long title here or it will push the page number down a line. And the page number is inserted to the right, and this is in the header. This is not at the top of the paper, it's actually in a header. Then you have the format that I would like you to use. So you would have the title of your paper, and then I would like you to have, especially for this one, a recommendation report prepared for, and whoever the stakeholders are that you prepared your paper, your name, in this case it's I'm a student, the name of the college written out please, and the date, and you always write out the month, don't write numbers. So April 18th, 2018. I will post this PowerPoint online so that you have this as a reference to use. You will then have what's called an abstract, which is a very short description of the entire paper. That will come on page 2, and again, everything is Times New Roman 12 font. You will notice, though, in the header, the difference is, if we go back, here we had running head, and on all of the pages that come after, we don't have running head, we just have the title. And there is a button to click that says different on first page. Depending on the version of Word you have, it can be a little bit more complicated or less complicated. I will show you Windows 10 and Office 16 that actually has a little bit more complicated version, but it's pretty much standard on all Microsoft Word. Please do not use Google Docs for this paper. Everything must be on Microsoft Word. Google Docs does not keep the APA format, and that will ruin the formatting for your entire paper. On page 3, you actually have your table of contents, and then the rest of the paper comes after that. I'm not going to go over each of the sections, but these are different sections. I will show you how to do that, and we will be linking it so that you can click on it and go directly to that section. The back of the page, or the back of the paper, excuse me, you have your references page. So there's a couple things to note about the references page. Number 1, everything is in alphabetical order by last name, of the author. If there is a date, you put the date. You put the date, as much information as you have. So if we don't have, so here we have April 16th, and down here we don't have a specific day. If there is no date, you put N period D period. Always put the last name and first initial, second initial if they have it. I will talk a little bit more about the formatting the references in a bit. So there's 4 basic elements of what goes on your reference page, and we call it the 4 W's. Author name, date of publication, title of the work, and publication data. And this can take various forms. So the source of the page is called the references, or the source page is called references. So again, don't call it reference page, don't call it bibliography, don't call it works cited. That's all. Works cited is MLA, but this is references. Again, alphabetical order. You spell out the author's last name. Use the initials for the first name and the middle name if they have it. So use as many initials as they give you. Then comes your article title. And the title is written as a sentence. In other words, the first word is capitalized, everything else is small, and you have a period at the end. If you have a colon in the middle of it, say there's a subtitle, then the first word after the colon is capitalized. Everything else then is small, and again, you have a period at the end of that section. Your journal title, if it's from a journal, and most of you will be using journals because I want you to use the library versus Google, you italicize the journal title and you italicize the volume number, and they go directly next to each other. So you'll have your journal title, comma, then the volume number, and then there's actually no space, and you take away the italics. And that's where you put the issue number. So it's important that you know that the issue number is not in italics, but it is in parentheses, and it follows directly after the issue number or the volume number. Let me go back and show you that again. So let's look at one. Here would be a good example. So you have the name, you have the date, period. You have your title, which is rather long, but it's not in italics, period. Now we have the journal, Journal of Nursing Education and Practice, comma, comma. Then you have your page numbers. So after the comma, excuse me, you have your volume number in italics, no space, parentheses, issue number. So it's written like that. This is not in italics, comma. Then you have your page numbers, period. And then you have your retrieval information. If they give you a DOI, which you'll see on most of the journals on the library, you write DOI, small, colon, and then you write your DOI number. If there is no DOI, let's say it opens to a PDF, well, that'll give you a link. And if you look on the page, the library page, you'll find something on the right-hand side at the bottom called permalink. If you click that, that will give you the URL. So if you, in the case of a URL, you do it like this. You simply say retrieve from, and then you list your URL exactly as it's listed. If it's from the database, they will give you a URL from the database. All right, so in terms of in-text citations, the APA in-text citations use what we call the author date system. And I always say date the author. In other words, wherever you put the author's name, you want to have the date followed it. So if you have direct quotes, you use quotation marks around the quotes, and then at the end of it, you actually have the author, the year, and the page number. And it's author, comma, year, comma, page number in parentheses. So let's say that that was the direct quote. Here would be our example. We would have done Smith, comma, 2016, comma, P, period, space, 303, parentheses, and then you have your period on the outside. That's for direct quotes. Now you can do it another way as well. Let's say there are no page numbers, then you have to use paragraph numbers, or you can use section headers. You have to give some kind of reference of where one can find that information. So the best is always to use articles that are PDFs, because the PDFs will actually give you page numbers. When paraphrasing, you just want to include the author and the year. So you would just simply put Smith, comma, 2016. Now, you can do it at the end, but I always like to incorporate the paraphrase into the actual sentence. So, for example, you can write something like, according to Smith, and then 2016, opioid use among teens is skyrocketing. So that was the paraphrase. They didn't say it exactly like that, but we got that information from him. And there's the date, and there's the author. So at the end of the sentence, you put all of that information in parentheses. But if you build it into the sentence, you can use the name normally and just put the date. But again, it's the author date system. So date the author, if you can remember that. The date always comes after the author's name. What if you don't have an author? What if it's just like a website, or it's an article, and a lot of government manuals and government publications don't have one particular author? Then you use the first 3 words of the article, and then you put them in italics. So it's probably a much longer, so it says changes to policy. You put them in parentheses here, and then you have your quotation marks. So the article title goes in quotation marks, and that's within the parentheses itself. Then you have a comma that's inside the quotation mark, and then you have your year. So that this little thing in terms of punctuation is important. You want to kind of like really pay attention to that. So you need to know how to limit and check the full text. So when you go on to the library searches, you want to look for any box that says full text. Use those, find peer review and scholarly, and check those boxes. This will give you all the real articles. Otherwise, sometimes they just give you the name of it and a link, and you have to then maybe go to 5 different places to get it. But if you check full text, this will give you most likely a PDF version of the article. You could also limit by publication date. So I would do within like the last 5 years and try to find really very current research. Always use PDFs because the PDFs have page numbers. You can download the PDFs simply from the library, and then you can keep them or you can print them off, whatever you prefer. Some articles tend to be a little bit longer. And on the library, there's actually a citation tool on the right-hand side. You can use that citation tool to generate the APA or generate your citation. But do note, they always have mistakes. So you can do it. What I do is I use it to save time, and then I go back and correct all the mistakes. So here's an example, like when you go to the library, over here, usually in the middle, if you run your cursor over it, it'll say cite. If you click that, then you have your options. So you want to check, obviously, APA, and there you have it. Simply copy it and then paste it on your paper. It'll mess up the formatting a little bit, but again, you have to know exactly what to do. Sometimes they capitalize the titles. Sometimes they capitalize all the letters in the name. Sometimes they write the whole name out. So you really do have to know the rules before you accept that as being the correct answer. So if you need help, there are different publication manuals out there. You can buy the APA publication manual, but I don't really recommend it. I think one of the best sites out there is the Purdue OWL Online Writing Lab. That's what OWL stands for, Online Writing Lab. Citation Machine will, cite these for you. You can put in the URL and it'll give you the citation, but again, they're never correct. So you definitely want to make sure that you double check everything according to our manuals. Go to the Writing Center. The Writing Centers on the campus are there to help you, especially on papers like this. Format your references page and then go there and say, could you have a look? You can also then send them to me ahead of time. I'll look at it. I won't correct it for you. I'll point out what is wrong, and then you know what to maybe go back and fix. But if I simply edit everything and correct it, you'll never understand exactly how to do it. So if you have a look at these, you can probably figure out which one is correct. And really, the answer is C is the correct answer. The title is in sentence format. So there we have the title in sentence format. Here we don't have it in sentence format. Everything is capitalized. In terms of the journal title, it is in italics, where this one does not have italics. We also have the retrieval information, which is the DOI we have it retrieved from EBSCOhost, but that's not really correct. If they give you the DOI, you would have used the DOI. And in A, there's absolutely no retrieval information whatsoever. And those are probably, oh, and there's a very important, there is the so-called hanging indent. So your references all should look like this, where, and that's easy to do as well in Word. I will show you how to do that. So that's a really, really brief, concise overview of APA formatting. And, we want to get to this as soon as possible. So I'm asking that, like, anytime you use any references at this point on, please try to format them in APA format. We will get it wrong in the beginning, but by the end of the semester, we will hopefully get it more right than we get it wrong. So don't get stressed. Don't end up looking like this. Simply go to the library or go to the Writing Center and ask them for help. That's what they're there for. And here are the references to this PowerPoint. So as I said, I will post this PowerPoint online so that you can use that as a reference anytime. I will also put a link on there for the APA handbook or the guide from the library. I'll post that as well, so you have that. I'll probably post everything under the section APA along with this video.